If you guys have followed me for a while, you know that my two favorite subjects to talk about are the Pro Football Hall of Fame and the NFL Draft. These subjects are going to be very prevalent now that the Super Bowl is come and go. We know who the 2025 class is. The combine right around the corner. The draft's going to be here before we know it. And the 2025 class, without going too far into the weeds, this video was interesting. You had Adam Vinatieri. A lot of people thought he should be a first ballot guy. But then obviously the voters don't value specialists the same way. We saw something similar happen a couple years ago with Devin Hester. I think Devin Hester got in his second try. Eli Manning. If you thought the Eli Manning conversation was nauseating, well, hate to break it to you, but that's going to be every year until he inevitably gets into the Hall of Fame. I did see the only argument against him that I do kind of see is Hall of Fame moments versus not having a Hall of Fame career, but even that, you look at the numbers and then the numbers plus the moments, that's good enough for me to look past the record. We're going to have something similar happen with Julian Edelman. The argument's obviously not the exact same, but that's interesting. Marshall Yonda, hard for offensive linemen to get in. Luke Kuechly, another guy. Just tons of the wide receiver backlog, the edge rusher backlog. I already mentioned offensive linemen are hard to get in. Yeah, this class... Next year, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, in 2025, they didn't let in as many people. There's not a set number. I think they can do anywhere from 4 to 8, but also the NFL Hall of Fame is known for making their own rules. There are guidelines, but they changed those guidelines. Obviously, for the Centennial class, they let in everybody, which is fine. I look for consistency, and that is not what the Hall of Fame has given us. Deion Sanders has mentioned that there should be an upper room of the Hall of Fame where the guys who are no question, we're talking the very short list Hall of Famers. So, Primetime, Jerry Rice, Brady, Montana, guys like that, the really top-notch guys, Randy Moss, T.O., and that might be it for the wide receivers. For tight ends, Gronk, Kelsey, Gonzalez, that's it. Cut it. Will that ever happen? I doubt it. It's going to take control out of Canton's hands because Deion wants to be in charge of that with the fellow players. But let's look at some of the 2026 first-time candidates because I mentioned just some names that were left out this year, and next year it's going to get credit. Drew Brees, without question, first ballot. Okay. Then we have a couple of pick guys, LaShawn McCoy and Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald, the longevity, one of, if not the best blocking wide receiver of all time. He also gets in. I don't know if he gets in first ballot, but Drew, we're already in at 1 with Drew Brees. I think Kuechly is going to get in also. I don't think they're going to make him wait till a third year. Another Pitt Panther, LaShawn McCoy, Hall of Fame resume, yes. When you look at the numbers, then he has the 2 participation Super Bowl rings. Obviously playing the end of his career with Brady and Mahomes. He gets in, but definitely not a first ballot guy. Frank Gore, the longevity helps him out. Another guy who, in my eyes, has the resume. Do I think he gets in first ballot? Absolutely not. Jason Witten, maybe he can get in first ballot. Shereen Williams. The way the Hall of Fame voting process works is they have a media beat writer for that respective team. So the Cowboys beat writer / Hall of Fame voter is Shereen Williams, and basically she's going to advocate why her guy Jason Witten should be in the Hall of Fame. That's kind of the real quick synopsis of what happens with the Hall of Fame voting. Marquise Pouncey, one of the greatest centers of this generation. A lot of people are going to look past him with guys like Jason Kelsey being eligible in another 4 years. And I already mentioned that lineman. It's hard for them to get in. Alan Faneca had a much better resume than Marquise Pouncey. Also for the Steelers, he had to wait a long time. Marshall Yonda, another guy who I would argue had a similar, if not better resume than Pouncey. He had to wait. Geno Atkins, Hall of Very Good. That's kind of my... if you're not Hall of Fame, but you're close, we're going to put you in the Hall of Very Good. Stephen Gostkowski, people forget how good he was, but he's not a Hall of Fame good. Phillip Rivers. I mean, if we're not putting in Eli, then we're not putting in Phillip. Another guy who's going to have to wait his turn. Greg Olson, Hall of Very Good, just not enough. Todd Gurley, absolutely not. Obviously, the peak was incredible. Julian Edelman. I mean, is there an argument? Yeah, but not when you look at the other guys who are still waiting at the wide receiver position. Guys like Torrey Holt, Reggie Wayne, Hines Ward. Hines Ward, another clutch playoff performer, another Super Bowl MVP, multiple time Super Bowl champ, really tough slot over the middle kind of guy. His numbers are pretty much double Julian Edelman's and everything. I get it. Edelman is one of the best playoff performers of all time. With that said, he can't even sniff Canton until some of these other guys get in. Thomas Davis, Panthers legend, Ring of Honor type guy, but not getting in. Mike Iupati, I'm surprised that he was on this list. He was very good, don't get me wrong. He actually played for every NFC West team other than the Rams. Des Bryant, the peak was there, but that's really it. And then David DeCastro, just too short of a career, really, to be in the Hall of Fame. Definitely a Steelers Ring of Honor type player, but when I look at the linemen that on this list, there's three of them. Pouncey's the only one who really deserves it. It's going to be interesting, though. I don't know if you put two quarterbacks in on a class. So does Eli have to wait another year? Drew Brees, without question, will be first ballot. And if they put in two, which assuming that would be Brees and Eli Manning, which ironically teammates for like an hour there on draft night because Eli started with the Chargers, so did Drew. They're definitely not putting in three. So Phillip or any other guy, whether that be Romo, Cunningham, anybody like that, not going to happen. And since I didn't ramble too long, we can just go over the Hall of Fame class of 2025 real quick. And I don't have a problem with any of those four guys making it. Obviously, Sterling Sharpe makes it as the senior category, which is fine. Sterling Sharpe definitely deserving all the Hall of Fame nod. Obviously, before my time, if you couldn't tell, I was not watching him in the 90s. But I have heard people in the media and other players from that mid-90s time period say that it was him and then Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice, arguably the greatest football player to ever live. So no problem with that. Obviously, the longevity's not there, so the numbers aren't there. Antonio Gates, fine with him getting in. I think that it's going to be interesting comparing him to Jason Witten, two guys who definitely have Hall of Fame resumes, but had very different styles. Antonio Gates had 100 touchdowns. He was the ultimate receiver. Jason Witten was a blocker. Both guys underdogs, though. I think Witten was a seventh round pick or undrafted, one of the two. And then Gates, obviously undrafted out of Kent State. Jared Allen, I mentioned the edge rusher. Backlog, that's fine. He can get in. But he has a better case than Terrell Suggs, who has a Defensive Player of the Year. See what I mean? This is the inconsistencies. Terrell Suggs would have been first ballot over Jared Allen, I think, who this is his second or third time now. Eric Allen, another guy, 80s, 90s corner. And they've only put in four guys. According to the rules, you can put in 8. Why didn't you? From a business perspective, the Hall of Fame makes money and is profitable 1 month out of the year, and that is Hall of Fame weekend, because they charge an arm and a leg to go see a awful football game and for people to come listen to speeches and go into their museum. So the more players you induct, the more fan bases are going to be inclined to come into Canton, help the economy, and just spend an insane amount of money. Putting in 4 guys, so Packers fans will be there, that's good. Chiefs fans also will be there, that's good. Chargers fans, do those exist? Eagles fans, maybe Eagles Chiefs Hall of Fame game. You get 2 passionate fan bases there. That's not bad. Obviously, you can't go wrong with the Packers either. Maybe Packers Chiefs. You do Jared Allen representing. Maybe you go Jared Allen with the Vikings. I don't know. It just does not make sense. The Hall of Fame has a lot of stuff to fix. And next year, they're going to have their hands full because they chose to only induct 4 guys this year.